Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you're based. Welcome to our webinar. We're going to give it a few seconds, a couple, maybe a minute, half a minute, to allow people to pour in. In the meantime, very excited to have you. A few housekeeping notes that we wanted to talk you through are there will be a Q&A at the end of our presentation. So we'll go through a presentation, tell you a little bit more about the exciting launch of commercetools InStore that you have all heard about. And then there is a Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A section, in the questions section of the GoToWebinar, and then we will address them once we're done. And also you will of course get the recording of this session as well once it's done. So we'll send that, you'll have that in your inbox afterwards if you wanted to revisit any of the things that we're presenting here. And then you can take that and reach out to us if you want to have more information, as this is of course a first high-level intro to our new exciting product. All right, with that, I think I have talked long enough and waited long enough. We'll get started. Again, welcome everyone. We're really excited to have you. Welcome to this commercetools webinar, where we will present to you everything you want and need to know about commercetools InStore, a new product that we launched last week at the NRF in New York. We're really excited about it, of course, as you can imagine. And I want to start very quickly with introducing ourselves. You've got three lovely, knowledgeable people here that will talk you through. Myself, I'm Nina Jonker-Völker. I've been with commercetools for quite a while now, and I am the global go-to-market leader for commercetools InStore. And with me, I have Matt Alberts and Jerry. Matt, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, as you said, Matt Alberts. I run the solution consulting team here at commercetools. I've been with the company just over 6 years and really excited to talk to everyone about our new product launch.
Great, and I am Jerry Rightmer, and I lead the InStore product team. I've been with commercetools for about 6 months, but I've been building InStore solutions for several decades. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you very much. You're not dating yourself here. All right, let's jump in. Thanks for joining me on this in this webinar. We want to dive right in and talk to you a little bit about unified commerce. You all have heard about unified commerce. I'm sure it's the buzzword of the year. It has been the buzzword of the year last year, and commercetools has always been at the forefront of really building technology that enables all channels and all sales touch points. And with commercetools InStore, we're taking that to the next level. If you look a little bit at what the retail landscape over the past couple of years or few years have developed into, then coming out of COVID, where we were all convinced that physical stores were dead and e-commerce was the only way forward, we're actually seeing a resurgence of physical retail across the board globally, right? So we're seeing that there is an increase in annual revenue. We're also seeing that in-store experiences become a lot more important again. So research suggests that consumers actually want a much more seamless shopping experience between all of the channels and all of the touch points that a retailer offers. And this is not going to be new to all of you, because you're living and breathing this every day, and you know exactly what the wishes and the requirements of your customers are. But really, customers, we know, want to buy online and return in store. For example, we know that customers want to touch and feel a product in stores and then potentially research it a little bit more online. They want to touch and feel stuff but have it delivered in stores, but have it delivered online. And they also want to buy online and then collect something, pick it up in stores, etc. So there are a vast number of use cases and an increasing number of use cases that really make the seamless and frictionless combination of online and physical channels very necessary. And so this is what we've also taken as a basis for developing commercetools InStore. So we know that if you want to seamlessly combine several digital and physical sales channels as a retailer, that means that ideally you need to harmonize all your commerce operations and all your data into one platform. Right now, we're still seeing that there are very disparate and very separate, siloed solutions out there in the tech stacks, and it is extremely hard to combine those together, right? So essentially, we know that unified commerce is what needs to be done. We also know that composable technologies and composable commerce really is the way forward to make sure we deliver the technology basis on which these seamless customer experiences can be built. The benefits of unified commerce, we've already touched upon what consumers want. For consumers, it's really about having a seamless shopping experience and shop anywhere, anytime, in any way they want, right? Consumers increasingly see retailers as one brand or as one entity and one company that they want to buy from, and they don't really care about whether they buy from someone online or in a physical store. They just expect that shopping experience to be seamless across all touch points. They also increasingly want to have a tailored shopping experience. All consumers have been very used to having personalized shopping experiences online. But now we're expecting the same level of personalization, the same level of care, and the same level of very targeted approach in stores as well. So that calls for another harmonization of technology. And then we're just expecting convenient returns and exchanges and just being able to interact with our favorite brands and our favorite retailers at any point and through any channel. For merchants, harmonizing all of their operations, all of their commerce operations into one platform and actually unifying their commerce tech stack means they can now work with one platform instead of many separate, and we'll go into that a little bit later as well in a little bit more detail. But it's about managing one platform now instead of 2 or 3, managing one data set instead of many in the background. It means less problems with syncing and less friction between technologies. It also means you now have data available at anyone's fingertips exactly where you need it and the way you need it. And that means you can empower your teams in stores, for example, to deliver a much more exceptional customer service and customer experience. And with that, because of the architecture that composable technologies and composable commerce offer you, you also have a scalable innovation opportunity now where you can build new customer experiences very quickly and very seamlessly. That is the principal working hypothesis and the trends that we're seeing in the market. And commercetools, of course, is uniquely positioned in delivering the technology that you need to make this promise true. I am extremely happy with that sort of prelude to hand over to Matt Alberts, who has worked on this in secrecy for a while now. And he'll give us a bit of an overview of the product, the capabilities, and the architecture as well.
Thank you, Nina. Go ahead to the next slide. One of the challenges that we've all faced, working in traditional retail is that every channel has had its own defined system, and the bulk of what we've been working on as practitioners has been, anywhere from 15 to 25 years of just trying to stitch together solutions from different vendors, or adopting a single vendor solution for all products, and then dealing with the inconsistencies of what ultimately was a series of financial acquisitions to build up a retail portfolio. And again, we talk about everything from inconsistent online and offline experiences. That's everything from capabilities delivered to the customer that are different in a self-service sitting on a sofa situation than what they can get in store, to promotion differences, to pricing calculation differences, to inventory visibility differences. And again, we spend a lot of money as an industry trying to solve these problems and put up what we call a unified face, when in fact everything behind the face is just spaghetti and duct tape, trying to stitch it all together. But ultimately, the true challenge has always been, if you're trying to stitch two systems that were developed in separate companies or separate situations together, there will always be differences in terms of speed, in terms of innovation, in terms of capability, in terms of the level of service that's being offered. So ultimately, every project that a traditional retailer would want to work on is, I would like to introduce this new capability. The technology team and the business teams identify it touches on multiple channels or multiple systems, and ultimately the project timelines are outlined and dictated by the slowest, least capable system, which certainly in the last number of years has become the point of sale as the slowest system in terms of innovation and development capabilities, the one with the longest implementation cycle, the longest rollout and adoption and pilot strategy, and obviously there's a training and organizational change component that can be part of that as well. So rallying around a single platform is to try to simplify a lot of those opportunities, but it's also an opportunity to I'm going to use some buzzwords of the industry, bring digital into the store, right? We talk quite a bit about how many digital innovations are really brought to that customer sitting on the sofa or using their mobile phone in the train, but yet the store associates are not always getting the same opportunity, principally because the technology footprint in the stores is so much different than the experience of a consumer with a laptop or a mobile device. Next slide. So ultimately, what we really wanted to do is we wanted to bring all of commercetools' digital capabilities, and we wanted to bring it into the store. But to do that, we really wanted to make sure that we were very respectful of the types of interactions that happen in the store, be respectful of the types of both the types of capabilities, the store associates' expectations, the expectations around what are the device types, what are the methods that people interact with your store associates, what tools would the store associates use, everything down to what a traditional cash point might look like, and making sure that we bring kind of the ethos of commercetools brand, which is flexibility and capabilities and at times very unopinionated, to be able to adopt this type of technology in the store, but do it in a way that isn't what has been done in the past, which is kind of commerce vendors just simply bringing their technology into the store and saying, this is how you should do this, because this is easier for me as a vendor, versus this being flexible and capable for you to adopt in your particular stores and migrate off of legacy systems. Next slide. So ultimately, if you've got a single platform sitting underneath everything, ultimately, the key outcome that you have is that you're powering all channels. You're powering all channels in the way that are really necessary to really support those channels, not in a commerce orientation in store, but in a in-store orientation in store, to really make sure that the consumer's experience isn't any different than potentially what they have, other than the store associates are empowered by all the same common components that are available to a self-service consumer, again, sitting on the sofa, or available to develop and enhance business capabilities and consumer experience at a similar pace in store as what you would have in your commerce operations. Next slide. Let's be a little bit more specific. When we think about this, a traditional deployment today of commercetools sitting next to any other point of sale available in market is, again, two separate siloed systems integrated principally in the back office, and an immense amount of data replication that's principally managed by the technologists in our business. Right, so a lot of design. There's a lot of understanding of where do we put commerce orders so we can enable buy online, return in store? What level of inventory visibility do we need to pull out of point of sale and put into commerce to be able to enable online transactions? If all of that is central to a single system, we now reduce all of that technology friction and that operational cost of maintaining integrations, maintaining and enhancing both systems separately, and ultimately connect that into a single integration, typically into your merchandising system or your ERP, so you can do your financial reconciliation that you would have on a daily basis. Next slide. So what is it? Right, we're talking about commercetools InStore. In classic commercetools fashion, of course, we've built this on a collection of APIs, so it sits in a similar frame and a similar context to the commercetools composable commerce product, or the commercetools product that you have in production today, running your commerce environment. It also has a back-end administration tool, which we're calling the InStore Center. It's a similar look and feel to Merchant Center. And what this is designed to do is it's designed to configure and manage the business rules associated with transaction types and roles and levels within the in-store, the store associates who are performing tasks inside of the in-store terminals. But it also includes the store associate UI, and the store associate UI is a front-end application, and it's built using a set of components that allows for us to develop components, things like how do you tender, how do you execute a return, how do you execute a refund, how do you manage the transaction types, how do I connect into the hardware necessary to kick out a receipt printer, but also then give you a good flexible foundation to start on, which allows for you to create the ideal store associate facing experience to actually run transactions. So whether that's a clienteling orientation, whether that's a fixed till location with scanners, where you just like to ring transactions very quickly, again, give you a good foundation that enables the opportunity to change, or just simply adopt the components out of the box as you would like to. Next slide. As it sits today, if you're looking, if you're thinking about a deployment of InStore, you can see down at the bottom there that the commercetools composable commerce product is at the bottom, or classically known as commercetools. And what we're doing is that all of the building of a transaction is being done, again, off the data that's sitting inside of commercetools. So again, we're building a transaction based on the cart endpoint. We're building, we're pulling items and looking them up based on the product catalog. We're pulling pricing and store-based pricing and store-based inventory based on the product catalog. We're doing pricing and promotions based on the promotion engine capabilities of commercetools. And ultimately, we're determining exactly how that would work using our channels and our contextualized features of commercetools. So again, creating the opportunity to both have store-specific pricing, region-specific pricing, or a store channel-specific set of pricing and an online set of pricing, or it could be that you want to manage inventory availability or inventory ordering options based on the contextualized features of commercetools. Again, this is channels in stores, and then sitting on top of that in our architecture diagram here is, again, our in-store specific capabilities. Again, the key goal here is that we want to manage the tendering of that in-store transaction. So that's everything from the point you've built up the basket in a variety of methods, offer a set of mixed transactions as well. So you, again, take items or order items in a single transaction or separately. And ultimately, I want to process that through. I want to connect to a payment entry device. I want to kick out a receipt, and I want to make sure the customer's experience is really good in store. So that's transaction, that's payments. We'd be remiss if we didn't offer you the ability to manage cash and to take cash as a payment. Obviously, gift cards, credit cards, digital wallets are all available as part of our standard capabilities. And then again, the last piece of that would be the ability to manage those devices. And when we talk about devices, we're talking about, obviously, if we're going to put a set of hardware down out in front of our store associates, we need to make sure that we understand exactly how those are configured. So if you have mobility devices in store, we want to make sure that we say that this is a mobile device. This is the orientation of what the UI would look like. These are the types of this is the primary payment entry device it's going to attach to. These are the receipt printer it should default to, and give the ability to then, if there's a problem in store, switch that to other devices so that you can complete a transaction. It's also good for auditing and understanding exactly where your hardware is in your enterprise and understand what's being used and not being used or potentially has a fault. So that's the predominant capability around device management. Next slide. So as we get into what does it actually do as you're interacting with it, say as a store associate, right? Again, I've said this a few times now, but in-store transactions, the intent of actually taking payment for goods, whether it's a take with transaction, customers walked up, you've scanned it all, you put it in the bag, they leave the store, or place an order transaction, classically known as endless aisle if something's out of stock, or blending those two transactions into a single order. Shopper present payments, of course, we want to interact with those payment entry devices so that way you're optimizing both reducing your fraud and obviously lowering your payment costs down to exactly what you'd expect, not a card not present. Merchandise present refunds, so somebody walking in and saying, I've got this particular item, I'm dissatisfied with it, I'd like to return it. So managing that return and refund process. Cash management, I touched on briefly. Device management, also touched on. User and permission management, of course, you've got this collection of employees that are really focused on supporting sales in your store or supporting service in your store. We want to make sure that we identify them, also grant them a set of permissions, and then as is typically seen in a store, again, the elevation of privileges or the capability based on a store associate, say a supervisor, a manager, all user defined. The application itself, that store associate UI, is browser based. So again, a little bit less opinionated, giving flexibility around exactly what types of devices that you deploy it on. It also then reduces some of the hardware, the heavy hardware requirements, which are common for legacy point of sale systems where the entire application runs locally and all calculation and promotion calculation, full product catalog needs to be cached. So very extensive hardware requirements. This is moving to a browser orientation. So again, giving you flexibility around, again, footprints, operating system, in a mobility context, the flexibility between iOS and Android, the flexibility around whether or not you wrap it in an app wrapper and deploy it that way, or whether you just continue to keep that inside of a browser context. Of course, commercetools, known as a global organization, so we need to support your internationalization. To start with, we're going to offer the product in 6 key markets, which do not have governmental or fiscal regulations that we need to go through. But as we go through 2025, we'll continue to add predominantly European countries, which have fiscal or government regulation around the transactions that occur in store. We've got a few pilot customers that we'll partner with in terms of confirming that those are that we're adhering to that, and then we'll do our own product innovation and product road mapping around the countries we'd like to extend this into. And lastly, again, it's all built on the same foundations of the commercetools platform, so the scalable, flexible, and extensible architecture that you've known for commercetools for quite some time. Next slide. Drilling in, I'm not going to read this all off to everybody, but again, in-store transaction support, I'll give you a minute to just kind of go through that. Again, wish lists, order history, doing specific things around store locations and store-specific setups between the capabilities of in-store and commercetools. Shopper present payments, we're supporting Adyen and Stripe out of the box today. And again, the ability to do vouchers, gift cards, digital wallets, and of course, don't forget about cash. We recently released a feature called Pay by Account. So this is where it could be a trade account, could be kind of a light B2B use case, but also offered with an integration into a backend. Merchandise, I've talked about merchandise present refunds, but one of the key requirements we typically have in the US is the ability to do a return when we can't identify the transaction, so an unreceipted return, and have business logic around exactly how that flows. Cash management, we treat it like inventory, so very thorough and detailed cash management capabilities around moving cash both in the store and end-of-day deposits, floats, counts, things like that. Touched on devices, touched on the store associate UI. The other thing around internationalization is we did introduce cash rounding. 2 of our launch countries do have cash rounding requirements where they no longer have pennies in circulation, so either round up, round down as a configurable set of capabilities. Again, I mentioned our launch countries. Now I'll be specific about where they are, which is the UK and Ireland, US and Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Those are our focus markets for our launch. And then, as I said, we'll be focusing on fiscal countries predominantly in Europe as we roll through in 2025. We've got a few pilot customers that are based in Europe that will be looking for us to support them as they define their rollout strategy over time. And then lastly, again, we've talked about this. We're cloud, let's just button this up. Multi-tenant SaaS, cloud native, backed by APIs, with a front end that store associate UI available in what are called micro front ends built in React. So this is a net new set of capabilities for us. This is not using commercetools front end or other front end technologies.
Thanks, Matt. I know we said Q&As at the end of the session, but there's one that keeps on coming back, and that is around offline capabilities. So I'll put you on the spot and ask you to have a look at that straight away.
Yeah.
And maybe Jerry as well, come on off mute and can you talk about that?
I'll get you started, Jerry, and then I'll let you fill in a bit of the details. So for 2025, primary focus one is to introduce offline capabilities into the store associate UI. And that will start and think of it like an onion. We'll start peeling back, and that initially starts with what we call lightly resilient. So introducing and really getting it out in the field, in production, and validating that the in-store UI is resilient to those, either low latency connections or high latency connections, or the occasional drops or a really slow speed, and making sure that's really buttoned up in that particular area. That will continue to evolve over time up into a period where we are syncing data down into the store associate UI, and then actually building a cart in an offline context. Jerry, over to you if you want to add some more detail there, of course.
I think you summarized it fairly well. We're breaking offline into 3 phases. And as Matt said, the first one is really around resiliency in the face of, I'll just call them flaky networks or inconsistently performing networks. And then the final phase that we'll get to will be full-blown offline, which is the ability to build a cart offline and work off of an offline catalog. And then there's a significant amount of plumbing behind that allows us to then synchronize and reconcile those carts once everything is back online, and we can push that back into the composable commerce backend. So you'll see those features get rolled out piece by piece over the first half of the year. And once that is done, then there will be no technical differentiation between an on-premise point of sale and a cloud-based point of sale, in the sense that you will be able to run in the same environments that you run in right now. In fact, more, because of the flexible front end and the fact that this can truly run anywhere.
Super, thanks a lot. I think that covered the 3 or 4 separate questions that we got on offline. I'm happy that we answered them right here. Before we go into any further Q&A, I just want to take us quickly through sort of the actual go-to-market and the situation with regards to the partner ecosystem and rollouts, as already sort of touched upon. We launched commercetools InStore, of course, last week at NRF officially in New York. We've been working with a number of launch partners who have supported us over the past year in developing accelerators and who have also done implementation. So we are very, very happy to have worked with our implementation launch partners, Overdose and Gradient Edge. Those are the 2 implementation partners that are available at the moment. Overdose has gone through the implementation of our pilot customer JCar in Australia, and they've also developed an accelerator, an in-store accelerator based on commercetools Composable Commerce and commercetools InStore. JCar is an electronics retailer in Australia and New Zealand, primarily B2C customer, a really exciting use case. We've sort of summarized what they've done in our customer case study that you should have all received as well. Otherwise, we'll make sure, reach out to your CSM or reach out to me or Matt, anyone else, and we'll be more than happy to send you that customer story for you to get more details around JCar. The other launch partner that we have is Gradient Edge. They have also developed an accelerator, which they call Keynote. They are going through an implementation at the moment, but I can't reveal the name of the customer yet, unfortunately. But it is a very exciting pilot customer that we're working with as well for the moment. In terms of technology launch partners, we've partnered very early on with a number of technology partners to make sure that we had the right coverage and we had the right collaboration, and started to build a robust ecosystem. Our hardware partners are Epson and HP. And then we have partnered with the payment providers Agent and Stripe, who are true omni-channel retail payment providers, and sort of cover a lot of the use cases that we were initially building out. So really excited to have them on board as well. That is sort of the end of the formal presentation. We wanted to give you an overview of the product, of the background and why we're building it, what the vision behind it is, what the product actually is, the capabilities that it has, the architecture that we build, and also the roadmap and sort of the development and vision that you can expect from commercetools InStore going forward. Hopefully a lot of that resonated with you and with your struggles and your use cases, and then we'll be excited to follow up those conversations with you in a one-on-one setting. We have received a number of questions, so we'll go on to Q&A. Jerry and Matt, I'm going to ask you to come on camera again because we'll sort of distribute the questions here. Thank you. We've already answered questions around the offline capabilities. Hopefully that answered the numerous questions that we had there. Let me just go through the Q&A here. We have a question around, are there any special stock concepts in commercetools InStore? For example, managing stock which is locally available in the POS or checkout from there for direct takeaway, right? So the typical sort of combination use cases, combined use cases between digital and physical. Jerry, Matt, who wants to have a crack at it?
I'll take a crack at that one. So there's no, let me say it this way. InStore is designed to be an in-store transaction engine. We've specifically not included any kind of inventory management type features, which are commonly seen in legacy point of sale. Legacy point of sale was typically the single system in store, meaning that it kind of had to do everything. We would almost call it an in-store ERP, because what did it do? It received product. It would then it would do all the reporting for your store managers. It would perform transactions. It would have clock in, clock out. It would have, all manner of features, local users, local password management, all these types of things. This is really focused on in-store transactions. So when we think about the inventory, we're now thinking back to the commercetools capability, which is that flexible use of whether we've got an inventory representation in the platform, in the application itself, meaning if we have a store defined and we've got a SKU or a product attached to that particular store, are we showing a specific price and inventory position? And are we enabling capabilities off of that? Or are we doing that from a visibility only standpoint, right? So, okay, so in-store, no specific inventory capabilities. Think about commercetools inventory capabilities. But if I think about, again, let's kind of throw that concept out for a minute and say, I have a customer in front of me who has a physical good in front of them, right? And they want to take it right away, right? You've got that capability in commercetools where yes, you have an inventory representation. We can decrement the inventory based on the sale that's done as soon as that customer goes through commercetools InStore and completes that transaction. Yes, we would decrement the inventory. That's a capability of commercetools as you do a cart to order conversion. And then ultimately can inform your ability to place a BOPIS order or a buy online, pick up in store order based off of that inventory representation in commercetools. So hopefully that hits, it's a bit of a vague question, but hopefully it hits kind of the span of what the product does, what its orientation is, and then again, how to consider inventory in the context of commercetools broadly.
I mean, I would add to that by saying there's three key things that happen in a store that had to be initially considered and baked into the base of the product. And that is the ability to sell take with merchandise, scan barcodes, build a cart in a traditional retail fashion, as well as supporting all of the different fulfillment types that go beyond what's in the store, the endless aisle opportunities. The other one is that retail sales in a store are usually intermediated, i.e. it's not direct to consumer, it's direct to sales associate to consumer. So it's an indirect sale, so to speak. And there are additional capabilities against the cart you would never let your consumer do, like override prices based on a mismatch of signage in the store, manual markdowns for customer appeasement. etc. So there are a lot of role-based protected capabilities within the system that allow you to do what you would traditionally have to do as a sales associate representing the brand selling to a customer. Still using the same commercetools capabilities, but exposing a different front-end tooling and capabilities to allow you to do what you need to do to transact.
And then the principal architecture pattern of commercetools, of course, applies as well, right? Whatever is needed to manage inventory that is not part of the base pack, basically, can then be added in a composable fashion, in a true Mac fashion, as is needed with other partners that we work with together as well.
Correct. Correct.
Mhm.
Good. I hope that answers that question. Let me just go through and see what else we have. Stock concepts we discussed. Does commercetools InStore run on the same instance of commercetools for online? So basically on the back of Coco. We had a bit of that in the architecture overview, but Matt, Jerry,
Yep.
maybe you want to elaborate a little bit more.
Our intent is that it runs off of a single project or instance. Obviously, the commercetools word is project. Instance is a way to perceive that. But yes, as part of a live and running commercetools project, there's a process to add a collection of configurations. That's an exercise that'll be done in partnership with the expert services team here at commercetools to take a running commerce only project and morph that into a unified commerce project. That's a one-time adjustment. It's done tailored based off of the exact running configuration of commercetools as is. And then there's no requirement to run this as two separate instances, not at all.
In fact, you don't want to. If you want to support seamless journeys that span channels, creating a wish list off of a cart in the store, retrieving customers' wish lists that were created online, buying off of them, pulling the online cart into the store to transact against it. There are a lot of cross-channel opportunities that you lose if you don't do this as an omni-channel project within commercetools.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
I think we answered the question, where is InStore available? So just to reiterate, UK and Ireland, US and Canada, Australia and New Zealand to get started with, based on fiscalization rules and tax rules that we support. And then we are opening up the geographic availability in the second half of the year. So really excited to bring that to more markets as we go. Are there any additional costs to use InStore? So yes, the answer is yes. commercetools InStore is a product that we that needs to be licensed on top of commercetools composable commerce. It in principle follows the same licensing structure that we have. It's consumption based, and it ties into the number of orders that are running through, and the load and the usage of the platform. And then we're working with our customers to make sure that the pricing fits the value and the needs and the requirements and the actual usage of the product on a one-on-one basis. So as this is applicable to each of you in your omnichannel journey, we will then work with you to make sure this becomes an extension of the existing contract that works for all of us. Network issues, we discussed that one. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling through. Could this product also be used as the main administrative tool for customer support team for an e-com website? For example, to add or remove items from a certain order, apply discounts, post-purchase, etc.
I think that there is, what we've looked at in our pilot customers is that there's a circumstance in which, yes, customer service ends up being what we'll call a minor component. So think about, they've got stores, they've got a healthy store state, and they do have a contact center component that is performing what appear to be very similar transactions. Right now, the store associate facing UI is intended for in-store. And from a product development standpoint, it's really going to be focused on the in-store use cases, at least for all of this year. However, as we've considered other pilot customers, we do recognize that the tasks and the functions are of a similar nature, and do certainly recognize that. I would say that up until the launch at NRF last week, our focus was making sure that we identified pilot customers with a significant number of stores, and that was our primary use case. As this evolves over time, yes, I could see this having applicability to a contact center. However, it just simply hasn't been a focus of ours up to this point. It's certainly, in-store, because of its the collection of capabilities around device management and cash management and all the associated hardware-based type transactions that occur in store. That's been our predominant focus versus what seems to be like if a customer walks into a store and says, I want to return an item, and they call a contact center, they appear on paper to be very, very similar. But again, our focus is around physical retail right now.
Yeah. There are subtle differences that we will have to tackle. We have, for instance, we've added one payment type that's specifically to support call centers, and that's pay by link. But there are other forms of call center payments, since there is no card present, that we would have to take into consideration. And also, a call center does break the security model that is absolutely required in a store. It gets in the way if you're in a call center and you're managing multiple customers across multiple tabs. So there would be some additional capability we would need to add to make it really clean, even though you would be able to reuse probably 90% of what's there.
And then we'll discover that together with you and solution that together with you as and when the need arises. So really curious, if you have these use cases, please reach out, let us know, and then we can go through that deep dive. Here's another one, another fun one, and we've sort of hinted at it a couple of times already. How are fiscal certifications handled if consumers pay with cash? And we know that that's one of the fun and games of in-store and POS. Who wants to have a crack at that?
Stay tuned. We'll have an answer for you in a few months. The entire cash management capability, including paying with cash, was carefully thought out, has a full audit trail, is carefully managed, the signatures on every transaction that occurs. How that's going to flow through the different fiscal authorities and the level of auditing required will depend upon the country. Some countries require hardware support. Some countries do it all digitally. The details will be forthcoming, but I'm not really prepared to answer that in detail right now.
Thanks, Jerry. Again, these are typically the questions that we'll go through in detail with all of you as customers, so that we actually really have the use cases pinned down and we know what we're talking about. It's really difficult to answer these broadly, right? Another one that goes into a similar direction is, can you elaborate how you will support the localization need regarding legal compliance and fiscalization? Do you plan to propose ready-to-use components adapted for each country, as well as out-of-the-box integration with externally required parties if led by regulation needs?
That is the intent. There may be exceptions. When we certify a country, we expect to fully support that country. But say, for instance, you are prepared to take this into a country we haven't certified. The answer may not be no, but it could be, well, you better work with your SI and work out the details, because we haven't taken on that country yet. There is a certain overhead cost to certifying in the country. It's not a one and done. Requires annual renewals. We have to stay on top of the regulatory changes. So that's another one we can't go into detail unless you tell us what the country is or countries. Then we can talk.
Safe to say that this is part of the roadmap and the vision to harden this product, make it ready for rollout through more geographic areas as we go through development this year and next year and the coming years. Definitely one of the big focus points. All right. We are almost at time. I think a minute left. I think we have answered most of the questions. We've talked about partners. I think that was it. We talked about licenses. We talked about technical details, fiscalization, countries, availability. Hopefully this was a good use of your time. You got out of it what you needed to know in order to understand a little bit more where commercetools is going with our product offering, with commercetools InStore specifically, but also as a company. We're really excited about this new product, this new addition to our offering. And we'd love to hear from you, of course, to understand how this is relevant and where we can extend our partnership. If you have any questions, please reach out to your customer success manager. We'll make sure that we send you the recording of this session, and then we're really excited to dive into more details with each of you individually. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.